What happens when you stretch time itself? When you sedate the pulse of a song until it feels like a dream? You get more than a remix. You get the soundtrack of a post-pandemic generation. In 2023 alone, over 38% of TikTok's top tracks featured altered speed or pitch, many of them slowed and reverbed into a hypnotic soundscape. As the world slowed down, so did its music, and slowed and reverb found its voice, echoing our inner melancholy. But this isn't just an internet trend. There's real neuroscience behind the emotional pull of slowed and reverb, a kind of sonic mirage that changes how we think, feel, and remember. So let's step into this liminal space where time dissolves and memory sings. This is the mind-altering story of slowed and reverb and how it rewires the way we hear music. Quick one. I love breaking down the science and psychology behind the music you love. If you haven't already, hit subscribe and follow us on social media. Every new community member helps me level up the quality of these videos. Join the Fermiverse, and let's get back to it. Long before slowed and reverb became an internet aesthetic, it traces its roots to slightly infamous beginnings. In the early 90s, deep in the heat of Houston, Texas, my hometown, a new sound was taking shape. It wasn't upbeat or mainstream. It was slow, raw, and hypnotic. Say hello to chopped and screwed music and its pioneer, DJ Screw.
The man who has created a new sound.
The unofficial architect of what we now call slowed and reverb, DJ Screw took familiar rap songs and bent them into something entirely new. Here's Travis Scott's song R.I.P. Screw, unedited, and then chopped and screwed.
Rest in peace to Screw, tonight we take it slow. Oh my God, I just can feel the love.
Chopped and Screwed slows the tempo to a crawl and layers in repetition and stutters for hypnotic effect. But this wasn't just an artistic choice. It reflected something, as I mentioned earlier, a bit more infamous. The sound was born not only from creativity, but from a drug known as lean. A mix of cough syrup, soda, and hard candy, lean slowed your body, thoughts, and sense of time. Native to Houston, the drug was common among music circles, drastically altering the listening experience. Music became slurred, dragged out, and echoes folding in on themselves. DJ Screw's chopped and screwed remixes recreated this phenomenon, allowing sober audiences to not just hear music, but sink into it. Chopped and screwed music is, at its core, slowed and echoed music. After DJ Screw's untimely passing, that echo, or chop, began to fade from the mainstream, and in its place, a new effect took hold: reverb. I'll explain why that shift matters in a bit. For now, it's important to understand that the roots of slowed and reverb explain why it feels the way it does. Through pitch shifting, tempo drag, and spatial effects, this sound taps straight into the brain's emotional circuitry. So let's break it down, piece by piece, starting with what happens when we slow a song. First, there's a common misconception that slowing music is just about reducing tempo. But it's not that simple. When you slow a song, you also lower its pitch, and that combination is what creates the vibe we associate with slowed music. Let me show you what I mean. Here's a preview of my upcoming song. Now let's slow the tempo, but keep the pitch the same. Doesn't quite hit the same, right? Now listen as we slow it with the pitch lowered. There it is, that heavy emotional pull. Slowing music doesn't just change the pace, it changes the frequency. In simple terms, frequency is how fast a sound wave vibrates. The slower the vibration, the lower the pitch. This drop in frequency is key to slowed and reverb's emotional pull. According to the Journal of Music and Medicine, lower frequency sounds are strongly linked to relaxation and lower resting heart rates. Another study from Biomed Central found that these same frequencies actually reduce the brain's capacity for calculation and analysis. In other words, they help quiet the overthinking mind and let the emotional brain take over. That's why slowed music feels more mellow, more grounded, and more emotional. The sound doesn't just slow down, you do. But pitch is only half the equation. Tempo is another powerful lever for emotion. When a beat speeds up, our heart rate increases, brain waves shift into faster patterns, and we feel more alert or even anxious. Slow tempos do the opposite. They encourage slower breathing, soften the body, and activate brainwave states associated with calm and introspection. In fact, this study from Curious Journal of Medical Science shows that slower music improves emotional regulation, lowers blood pressure, and enhances mood stability, particularly when paired with warmer tones found in lower frequency sounds. This is why so many people turn to slowed and reverb for late-night drives or moments of emotional reflection. It's a psychological shift that nudges us out of motion and into emotion. When slowed tempo and lower pitch combine, the result is a sound that's not stimulating but absorbing. Now onto the other ingredient, reverb. Remember I mentioned that it replaced the echoes used by DJ Screw? Echo and reverb are very similar effects that produce very different feelings. Both are caused by sound reflecting off exterior surfaces. The difference lies in timing and perception. An echo is a distinct delayed repetition of the original sound, typically heard when the reflected sound arrives more than 50 milliseconds later. It's the sound bouncing back as a separate event. Reverb, on the other hand, is the accumulation of all sound reflections arriving at the ear in rapid succession. Instead of hearing a separate, distinct sound return, we perceive a continuous wash of sounds. Let's apply both effects individually to demonstrate. First, we have echo, 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 echo. Then, we have reverb. Echoes feel more like repeated chops, whereas reverb feels more like an atmosphere. In our Psychedelic Sounds video, we looked at the neuroscience of echo and delay-based effects, examining how they disrupt key internal clock and time functions of the brain used for homeostasis. Check out that video afterwards for a deeper dive into this topic. Due to this, DJ Screw's use of chops creates a sort of disorientating, hypnotic feel. Reverb, on the other hand, creates a cloud of sound we submerge in, altering our perception of reality far differently. A study from the Journal of Audio Engineering Society found that across these 8 specific emotional categories, reverb sounds strongly invoked feelings of mystery and romance and moderately invoked sadness. These are the exact vibes we commonly associate with slowed and reverb music. When it comes to romance, it's all about intimacy. Reverb at its core emulates a larger 3-dimensional space. It makes the music feel like it's being played in a vast, empty room or across a canyon. But paradoxically, that vastness doesn't make the sound feel distant, it makes it feel closer. That's the power of what philosophers call intimate immensity, the feeling of being small inside something huge, yet feeling more connected because of it. Think of standing on an island with someone, staring out at the endless ocean. You'd feel more connected to them in that moment than you would in a crowded room or busy cafe. Reverb creates that same effect with sound. It places you alone with the music, suspended in an expansive space where nothing else exists but you and the song. So when you slow a song down and drown it in reverb, you're not just stretching time, you're building a temple of emotion where every note feels sacred and every lyric feels personal. This sense of isolated intimacy with the music does more than create closeness, it opens you up. Your emotional defenses lower and vulnerability increases. You become more receptive to the emotional content of the music, especially sadness, longing, and reflection. These emotions aren't just heard, they're felt, deeply and personally. It's part of why reverb music often brings listeners to the place we call in your feels. When music echoes through emotional emptiness, it fills the space with everything you've been holding back. Reverb's mystery comes from how it blurs the boundaries of sound. When you add reverb, the sharp edges of a song begin to soften. Notes bleed into one another. The structure becomes less defined, more fluid. It's the difference between listening to a song in your bedroom closet versus in a massive underground parking garage. In the garage, the sound washes over you like an immersive sound bath. This blending effect makes music feel less like a clean narrative and more like a foggy memory. That's the key. Reverb mimics the mystery of dreams. where scenes dissolve into each other, time is elastic, and nothing lands exactly where you expect it to. The result is a sound that feels mysterious and surreal. Slowed-in reverb isn't how life sounds, it's how life's memories sound, carrying us on a fragile raft of nostalgia across the waters of a past innocence. It alters how we feel time, space, and memory, turning songs into mirrors that reflect versions of ourselves we thought we'd forgotten. So, what song takes you there, back across the waters of your own past? Let me know in the comments, and I'll tell you mine there as well.